Welcome back to another YouTube video. Today we are going to be talking to The Times I Knew I Was Gay. This is by Eleanor Crewes. It is a compilation, from what I can tell, of designs she's made over the years with some edits. And it's talking about, and I'll be honest, it was an unusual read, but I gave this a 5-star because I enjoyed how raw and how open that the author was. I know a lot of people who have read this book didn't understand the transition between the books, but because it is a compilation of different designs that she made, and it tells her coming out story, which I found absolutely fascinating. As usual, full disclosure, we will be this one will have spoilers. I am going to be talking about the plot of the book. This is a bit more of an unusual one because it's not I think it's fiction. Fiction's when it's not true, and then non-fiction's when it's true. And this is a non-fiction. It's like an autobiography kinda of Eleanor's adventure with coming out as gay. One of the things I really loved about this book is the nerdy references. So I've read quite a few disappointing reads lately where they try to be quirky and nerdy and it just comes off wrong, whereas this one captures the personality very well. So without further ado, let's dive into the review. One of the things that I really loved about this book is that it wasn't just focused on her sexuality identity. I really liked how there was this struggle with how she sees herself. I liked how she expressed that through clothing, through makeup, through how she acknowledges that she's in different crowds and she's different people around different people. I feel like that's something a lot of people will be able to relate to about this book. I think it's something a lot of people are going to have will find a lot of relevance whether you are gay or not. I think this book is just a very good, honest, reflection of her past, of who she was, and of her journey through primary school, high school, university, the different things she did and how her identity changed. I really liked how she was very open about her nerdy hobbies as well. I don't see a lot of stuff like this where people are quite open about like their nerdy habits and stuff. I quite liked that she was a big fan of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. But I also like how it wasn't the main point about the book. I like how the book was more around how she tried to accept herself, even when she wasn't too comfortable, and it took her a while to get to that realization that she didn't owe anyone anything. Which I feel like is something a lot of us would struggle with. I wouldn't necessarily say this is a self-help book, but I would put this down as a book that I feel like everyone needs to read. I know the size of it looks really intimidating, but if we just... It's in the format of like designs and stuff. So it's more pictures than text, which also made this a really fun read. Normally I really cannot stand this font in books. Reading it's very jagged. It's not something that I particularly enjoy, but with this book I found it was, because of the artist's style as well, I found that the font was easier for me to read. I really struggle with different texts and formats. If a text is too small, I'll try and find larger print. Some book, you know how, like, there's a lot of books in the library that I want to read, but I am having to wait for different books to be returned or that aren't paperback, because a lot of the paperback are like 8, like that big, and I'm just like, I can't read that. And it's nothing to do with my eyesight. The words just start like mixing up on the page, and the font, it gets really confusing. Won't be a second, I need to go wipe my nose. Alright, I'm back. So I liked how the font in this, even though it's not one I would normally read, the words are quite a bit bigger than they have been in a lot of the books I've been reading. So it made it easier to digest, it made it easier to follow along and understand. I know a lot of people say that this book, the timeline is really confusing, but I feel like if you read the author's note beforehand and you have this understanding of how this is this book itself is a compilation of different books from different times in her life. So some of it is her really old art, some of it is new for the book. I feel like that helps to gain a better insight and understanding into what this book is about, as well as follow the timeline better. I thought because it is confusing, that transition from primary school to high school, I don't remember much about it other than it just sucked. That's all I could tell you about it. But I feel like she had the bigger difficulty when she was trying to come to the terms with the fact that she didn't particularly like dating men as much as her friends did. And then as well, see, like, we are surrounded by so much heteronormativity, that I feel like a lot of us will try and force ourselves to be this heteronormative person, and it doesn't work like that. We're not all the same. It's unnatural for some of us, and it's as to be, straight. And I just thought this book, the way it talks about her trying to force herself to be like the rest of her mates, I thought that was a really fascinating to see her back and forth struggle with that, where she wasn't fully convinced herself after she came out, and she'd had to come out again and again and again. I feel like that's not something we necessarily talk about, or see portrayed in like a lot of LGBTQ plus spaces. So to have a book which openly discusses that and trying to be normal, or what they thought was normal, but even her family knew that it wasn't normal for her. I thought that was a really brilliant thing to be able to read and see in a book as well. I also really enjoyed how she talks a lot about fashion and trying to fit in terms of clothing. So she goes back and forth between wearing rather plain outfits to wearing these really, I wouldn't say fancy, but I would say snazzy, like the metal rock band shirts, all those kind of things. And I feel like she had to be like a plain Jane. I wish that was something that people would talk about more. I know Elliot Page in his memoir, Page Boy, discusses the topics quite openly as well, which is another one I really highly recommend. But yeah, I like how as well she discusses trying to, when she does start dating girls for the first time, how she struggles with different types of gays in the community, and I found that bit really fun, because I also feel I've also had personal experiences with different types of gays, so people view their sexuality very differently, and like, I was cringing when she was discussing like the different types of, when she was discussing her sexuality with other people that she was dating. Other people, like, were making different comments. So, like, there was this one lady that she saw was like, "Oh, you're a baby gay," and I don't think there's a lot of people in the LGBTQ community who understand that that is a really upsetting thing you can say to someone. I got a secondhand embarrassment, and I was cringing from it. I felt so sorry for Eleanor when I was reading that. Like, if I was dating someone and they said that to me, that's it, that's the relationship over, we aren't going any further. But this book itself was brilliant. Like, the way it captures all the different personalities of different people that she interacts with throughout time, the way that she writes and describes her partners, the way she describes herself as well. It's something that I've mostly just seen in books about transgender characters. So to see it from someone who is a cis woman was brilliant, honestly, to see how I struggle reading books that are wrote by women, because I find women intimidating. So that was also, it was so well wrote, the comedy value side of it at least, that I didn't feel awkward reading it. I felt awkward when she felt awkward. I felt like I was going through all of the norms and the different emotions she was experiencing throughout this book with her, and I think that's magical when an author can write a story, or even if it's just like a picture book for the most part, and you feel like you're going through it with them. I don't think there's a lot of books out there like this. I wish there was, because it was just a brilliant read, talking about all the different highs and lows, as well as some of the difficulties she had with the transition from trying to be straight to realizing she was gay. I know that can be quite a push for some people, but everyone also experiences it differently. Like, there isn't two people who are alike, so this was a very light-hearted non-fiction book, which I would highly recommend, because it's just, as well, it talks about what people perceive as normal and how that can change, how different people have different definitions of normal, and how it's okay to have those different definitions of normal, and how there's a lot of miscommunication when we are, not just in the words we speak, but also in the way that we present ourselves, and how that can cause issues for ourselves or for other people, and learning to come to terms with that and just not caring. I thought that was a really clever, it felt like a really wise book. So yeah, this is The Times I Knew I Was Gay by Eleanor Crewes. If you've read this book, what did you think about it? Did you enjoy it? Did you get a different copy to the one that I've got? I am very fascinated to see what other copies there are of this book. I know she did a book signing event. Did anyone go to that when it was released? Let me know. I am absolutely fascinated to hear, everyone's stories. Did you read this and not enjoy it? Why didn't you enjoy it? I'm very curious to see what other people think and feel about books. I think one of the things that is great about reviewing books is finding other people who have read it and hearing the differing opinions, because just like a book can make people feel different things, I think it's also important to discuss those different opinions. But yeah, that's my book review. It is a 5-star. Don't forget to, if you've got any book recommendations you think I'll enjoy after reading that, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff that everyone else says, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.